it's Kristie from Strong Soul Wellness,
and Paige from Healing Spaces,
and you're listening to
Real Talk. We wanted to create a space of safety and vulnerability for women, friends, anybody willing to join us here, and so that we can get real and raw about all of the insecurities that live beneath the surface. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and we're so grateful for you.
Yeah, and if you're enjoying it, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, follow, all the things.
Yes, all of the things, all of the things. They are very appreciated. And please feel free to send us any topics that you might want us to discuss, because we are definitely open to going in different directions. So we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just send us a DM on Instagram. That's probably, I feel like, Instagram or Facebook.
Instagram or Facebook.
So.
Yeah, they're the best.
I love it. Alrighty. I feel like I always have to take a deep breath.
Yeah, I know. Really get grounded in the moment and just show up in a present way, because life is busy. Life can, as we talked in our last episode, can get super chaotic.
We're still in that, I feel like we're still in our tornado.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think we have a different view of it now.
Yeah.
Though. I think that's where, today when we were talking, it's coming from a perspective of offering grace to ourselves. And just really having the awareness around the craziness and the busyness that these seasons bring us. Yeah. And then our need, our need to stop and take a deep breath and rest, because we also need that to be able to thrive.
Absolutely. And that is what has been such a struggle in our lives, is because society says we should be on the go. We should be doing all the things. We should be constantly working hard, constantly moving. And if we're not, then we're being lazy or we're not being productive. And that's just kind of what I feel like we have finally realized it's kind of the opposite. What I tend to see is when you're in that chaos or you're feeling like you constantly have to do all these things. Or I used to be the mom who, and I've talked about this, I had this mom in my head that I would compare my mothering to.
Yeah.
It's you got to be the housekeeper, you're working outside of the home, you're doing all the crafts, you're doing all the school things, and really you feel such an anxiousness inside, and that tornado and storm, you end up not showing up anywhere really well.
Yeah.
And that's not being productive.
No. And I think one thing that I've had to really ground myself in many times is this notion that and this belief that we can be anything that we are, but we can't be everything all the time or in every season. So there's going to be times where we can thrive in a busy season.
Yes.
That we can show up to a bunch of different things, and we can be present, and we can be joyful, and we can be excited. But there's also going to be times where we can't, and we don't have the capacity for that, for whatever reason, whether it is for health reasons, whether it is for emotional reasons, whether it is for, the fact that we just came out of a very busy season, and now we need to take this moment to take a breath and reflect and rest. And so I think it's just so important to honor, witness, these are non-negotiables. I'm in a busy season. I'm doing these things. I'm gonna survive it. I might have to float into autopilot a little bit. That's okay. But then I'm also, when I get the opportunity to come out of that, I'm also going to give myself the rest that it needs so that I can, replenish myself and then move forward. It's when we're in the constant state of autopilot. It's when we're in the never ending, never allowing ourselves. I mean, I spent years in autopilot. Yeah. Years of my life in autopilot. So that does happen. And it wasn't until I started really clearing away some of these thoughts and ideas and beliefs through therapy and through healing But I was able to really witness that in a way that was like, okay, like this was not necessarily because like you had you had to be busy. Like these weren't non-negotiables.
Yeah.
You were creating even more of a storm because you didn't want to sit and be still and actually pay attention to what you were feeling inside.
Yeah. And that's like when you were saying that, the word that comes to mind is avoidance.
Yeah.
And we see that so often, and that's exactly how I was. I was avoiding heartache, grief, all of those feelings that were like suffocating me. I just avoided it all, tucked it away in a little box, and I was like on the go, and yeah, just a busybody.
Yeah.
Never resting, never grounding, never looking within, because I knew that it was going to be scary.
Yeah.
I knew. I was like, I'm not sure I want to unpack that.
I'm not ready to unpack that suitcase just yet. But yeah, and I think the way that showed up in my life was this strong urge and desire to never say no because I was so codependent with other people, whether it was, I mean, it could be friendships, it could be relationships, it can be, you know, familial relationships. But because of that, I had this, you know, super big push to never say no as a people pleaser, as a codependent, so that I could attain everyone's love. Like, what if they, like, I can't tell them no. What if I tell them no and they stop loving me, or they stop, you know, inviting me to things, or I lose their acceptance and that validation. So I had to really like take a self-inventory of me, but then also an inventory of my life and be like, okay, like, what am I choosing to do that I can show up for 100%? And what am I choosing to do out of guilt? What am I choosing to do out of this need for validation? What am I choosing to do from my projections? Because out of those projections isn't coming authenticity.
Yeah.
And then it just creates bitterness and resentment and all of this other internal storm inside. So it's just like, okay, again, like, for many, many years, I was not ready to unpack that suitcase.
Yeah.
And so I didn't. I just kept going and kept going and kept going, and would deal with like the shame spirals and the repercussions of it internally in such a big way. And so, yeah, I feel like now when we get into those spaces, it's so important to be like, okay, I'm feeling busy, or I am busy, but this isn't because I'm avoiding anything.
Yeah.
This is because this is life.
It's a season.
It's a season, or it's a weekend, or whatever it is. And then the next opportunity that I get to have some downtime, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Even if somebody is like, hey, you want to grab dinner? Hey, you want to do this? Hey, you want to do that? Like, you know what? That actually sounds beautiful. This day is not going to work for me, or this weekend's not going to work for me. I need to take a beat. I need to take a moment to breathe. And, just being able to like be aware of that and give that to ourselves, I think is super important.
Yeah, because giving that to yourselves is a way of honoring yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why we did not do those things. I mean, also, not like we said, not unpacking that can of worms or whatever, but it was also, we just didn't honor ourselves.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of self-care or self-love. I mean, I don't want to speak for both of us, but for my aspect, it was just, I did not know how to honor myself. And I did not know that I was supposed to.
Yeah.
I thought other people were supposed to give me that, and that's, a whole other issue. I did not realize that that's my job.
Yeah.
To honor myself and to do what I need so I can show up how I want to show up.
Yeah.
And like you pointed out earlier, when we're doing all these things, you're not able to be 100%. Never are you able to be 100% in every single place in your life. You can only show up as you wherever you're at in that time. And I think also it's giving ourselves a little bit of grace to just be like, you know what? I can't go to that school function today.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make me a bad mom.
Yeah. Are you trying to talk yourself out of going to Emily's track meet?
Listen, it is 40 degrees outside. As I was saying that, I was like, well,
did I just give myself permission to go home after this?
Guys, it is raining. It is 40 degrees, and yeah, my daughter has a track meet.
Yeah.
In just a couple hours.
I don't know. Yeah, total side note. What happened to Indiana weather? We came into May, cold, rainy, all the things.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not great. But, no, that was hilarious. We
wait a second.
We had that conversation, like, behind our eyes, and it was like, is anybody going to say it out loud? Is anybody going to say it out loud? I'll say it. That's great. But yeah, no, and I think, you know, so much of it, is like avoidance of our own feelings. But it's also, you know, we were very much coming into our 20s and coming into adulthood in my perspective, a very, like, toxic moment for a lot of women when, like, things started really pushing the hustle culture. Yeah. And so, you know, we come into our 20s, this hustle culture is all over. Mm-hmm. Social media is, like, it's really taken off. It's really becoming in our face. Like, it's on our phones. And we're both parents. Yeah, both parents very young and trying to survive in life and in relationships and raising kids. Mm-hmm. But, like, this hustle culture, for me in my experience, just made me feel this massive empowerment for wanting to do all the things and be all the things all of the time. Yeah. And then it was like I would smack into a brick wall and just feel like a crumbling of shame all down my entire body because it was like, well, I can't.
It's exhausting.
I can't actually get up every day at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 4 a.m. or, you know, whatever it is so that I can work out and I can write a book or whatever it is my dream is and go to work and take care of my kids and do all of the things and clean house and the list went on and on. It constantly left me, even though in those moments of empowerment, it's like being in a trauma bond. It's like, okay, this feels really, really good
for a moment.
The fallout, we're gonna tweak it. We're gonna do things a little bit differently now. Mm-hmm. It's gonna feel really, really good, and then it's gonna fall out again. Like in this constant loop of that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that made things so much harder for us in our 20s. Because that hustle culture was just pushed so much. The toxic positivity and all of that. There was just like, it was like, put on your blinders, put on a good face, make it all work, make it all happen. You know,
you just don't want it. You don't want it bad enough. Like, you remember, like, that was like, you're just not trying hard enough. Or everybody has the same amount of hours in the day. And it's like, no, actually, that's not true. You know? The way, I mean, it just... those messages that we were receiving constantly. It's so true.
And it was like
to like reflect back
the constant, you know, like, oh yeah, you can make as many excuses as you want. Like, and I look back at that time now and I like give myself grace for it. I want to judge myself for buying into it, but at the same time now it feels so much better and so much more grounded when I can give myself the space to honor my body, honor my mental health, my emotional health, give myself these like small, quiet practices, and to let go of who I think I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, not pressure.
And just be who I am, honor that, take care of that, and then bring that into the world. So that I can show up authentically. And it's just like, it's an incredible feeling. Even when you're in a low space or even when you're in a busy space, it's like, okay, like this will pass.
Yeah. Well, and when you show up in the world in the way that you just described, that's when you have the ability to actually make changes.
Yeah.
It's not the hustle culture of doing all the things. It's when you're able to show up as your authentic self. That's when real changes and inspiration, in my opinion, can happen.
Yeah, I believe that. That's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful way to put it because I don't know. I think that it it's really easy to feel pressure anyways from society, from other people, from the opinions of others. And when we get caught up in it, it can really be detrimental to our own spirit and our own authentic gifts.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to all be able to show up in the same way, in the same time, in the same spaces. And so being able to allow more of a flow versus a push is going to free up our ability to sustain it.
Yeah.
Like sustain your life, like just sustain the art of living.
Yeah.
For the length of your life versus, this push and push and push. In survivor mode. Because burnout comes.
Oh, yeah. And I think when you're living in that state, you're not actually able to see what your gifts are.
Yeah.
I mean, I always had a very strong desire to be an entrepreneur. And it started out with fitness coaching. And in my 20s, I did some things on the side, but I'm so glad I did not attempt to become an entrepreneur until in my 30s and in the space that I'm in now, because it's just so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even see what my gifts actually were because I thought I had to do all the things and be all the things. It was until you kind of quiet all that chaos, you can find what your gift is, and then you can nurture your gift.
Yeah, I love that. Being able to quiet the chaos and nurture your gift, I think is so important. And by nurturing our gifts, we have to nurture our bodies, and our bodies need rest. Our bodies need to be able to do things, and I think to do things in a way that is very powerful and authentic. That way it also comes with the relief of guilt. Like it also comes like when you can show up in that way. I mean, I remember in the bounce back, in the trauma bond cycle of that hustle culture and what I was trying to do and create, there was so much guilt that came from not being able to reach or attain what it is that I thought that I should be reaching for or attaining.
You feel like you're failing, and
and you're just like, oh my gosh, like what do I need to do? I need to be better. I need to do this more. I need to change this more. And so that guilt that would come from just like never feeling like I was enough really was fed by that. And so I think that it's so important for all of us to be able to breathe, just breathe and be like, okay, I'm not going to let this pattern of guilt just completely deplete all of the wonderful things that I'm accomplishing.
Absolutely. And it's the ability to live in the present moment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. And I mean, I feel like kind of how coming to this topic of hustle culture, one thing for me recently is when I posted on my stories. So obviously, I'm a health coach, and for me, fitness, exercise, strength training has always been really, really big for me because it releases so much fire that's inside me. And it's just something that I've had to do that I like to do, and that just really helps release. Well, the last, I'm not sure how long, there has been a lack of this motivation for me to get to the gym, and just a lot of resistance. And I was feeling really, really guilty about that. And I kind of showed up on stories to just talk about it on Instagram. And I've talked about it with my clients. I was feeling like I wasn't being authentic because I'm a health coach. That means I should be working out all the time. Was this thought that I had in my head until I kind of had a moment in my car. I was driving and it dawned on me, I had not been working out, and I don't remember the last time I worked out. I really don't. But I've been doing so much inner exercise is kind of how I described it. So much more of just grounding myself, really working on connecting deeper to my center. and just figuring out some more self-awareness. And that has actually made me an even better coach, in my opinion. I mean, so what I came to realize is this is just the season I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be exercising all the time. I don't know when I'll go to the gym next. I'm sure it'll come eventually. And it was like, this is what I have to talk to my people about. Like, this is just the season I'm in, and it's okay. And just because I wasn't working out didn't mean I'm not doing good things to honor my body. I'm just focusing on something different. And I think figuring that out, having some self-awareness to be like, oh, actually, I need to focus more on, my heart, my soul, my emotions, my mental health. At a different time, it'll be the physical side. And so I think just having that like realization of I'm not always going to do all the things right now. I just need to focus on what is serving me best in this moment.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for you. And I love that you're honoring that for yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge step towards, us being able to really live. It's like, okay, like I don't have to be trapped in a cycle of shame and guilt and telling myself that I should be doing something different or feeling bad. I'm just going to honor where I'm at. I think that's so beautiful that you're doing that for yourself.
And every single one of my clients were like, thank you so much for telling me. And, it's just, because I was worried that I wasn't being authentic. But actually, I became more authentic by saying, like, and, I'm going through a season.
Yeah.
And everybody goes through seasons. And I think just kind of honoring that and allowing that to process through. Don't try to force anything. I was trying to force something. I felt bad that I had so much resistance. And so I was like, man, I should lay out my workout clothes. I should do this or set my alarm clock earlier. And it's like, no, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, and, it's like, because then when you push yourself like that, like that's when you get injured.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's when you start to resent this thing that you love so much. And you don't want that. No. So honoring where you are now gives you that space to go back to it in from a place of joy and a place of, fun, truly wanting to be there. And there's going to be some times where we're going to come up against things and we're going to be like, there's a difference. You have to be self-aware enough and discerning enough to know, like, when you're honoring your body and when you're just avoiding. You know what I mean? Like, avoidance absolutely. And honor are very different things.
That is true.
And so I think it's super powerful when you can discern the difference and when you just know it. I mean, there's a knowing there.
Yeah.
The more you your intuition is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger that it gets. And so you're in this season of, okay, I'm strengthening this intuitive muscle.
Absolutely.
And getting to know myself on an internal space. It's not like you're spending 8 hours binge watching Netflix.
Right.
And,
right.
And even if you were, like, spending an hour in internal work and then, watching Netflix for 8 hours, it is what it is. Like, like however you get there is however you get there. But I think being able to truly discern when you have to honor yourself, but then also like really pay attention to when you're avoiding something.
Yes.
Sometimes avoidance is good for a little while. Sometimes you need that for a little while even to be able to kind of like give yourself some perspective, but strengthening yourself in a way that self-awareness always comes back because you know what you know.
Yeah.
And you only know what you know until you know it.
Yeah.
So, but once you know something, it's not like you're going to forget it.
No,
it's not like it's going to go away. And so I think that it's just like, that's a really important, like, part of that for us to acknowledge is that, no matter where we are, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay to just be where we are.
And nobody knows you better than you.
Yeah.
And really, like, what you need in the moment or in the season that you're in, you can find, like, by just kind of quieting and just really looking within. Like, you'll find what you truly need. You'll find the answer of, am I avoiding or am I resting? I fully believe, like, you have that in you. And sometimes you do need support and need other help, like other people to help pull that out of you.
Yeah.
But that answer that you need is always right there.
Yeah. I think for me, you know, even when it comes to parallel off of your physical, like the physical fitness and things like that, I have been in that place. I've been in a place of avoidance for a really long time in regards to going to find more clear answers on my physical health because I have some pretty significant just like doctor anxiety, hospital anxiety, all of that just makes me so uncomfortable. And so I've had so much avoidance around that I will struggle with some things that are pretty debilitating in regards to physical exercise or physical fitness because I have extreme muscle fatigue and my energy levels are very much up and down, and many other things that come with that. But for me, I would just stay in this space of like, oh, I can only do yoga and I can only walk because my body just doesn't like it when I do anything else, which is true. But also at 31 years old, my arms shouldn't be like cramping when I'm shampooing my hair.
There's something else going on.
There's something else going on there. And so again, like I can choose like, okay, I'm honoring my body by doing yoga and walking, but I'm also avoiding going to the doctor and finding actual answers for what is going on with me.
We might blow away, guys.
I feel like we record these on like the gloomiest day. What is going on?
Sorry, you avoiding going.
So that avoidance is there. So I mean, gosh, we were making jokes about me like thinking I broke my foot, which still hurts, by the way.
Yeah, you didn't talk to the lady.
No, I didn't talk to her about that.
I totally forgot.
I was in there for an hour and a half. Not one time that I mentioned my foot. It'll be fine. I think it'll be okay. Anyways, so my avoidance of doctors and hospitals, I was able to very gently honor myself and honor my like anxiety around this topic and find a holistic nurse practitioner that I scheduled an appointment with and that I am going to work with like to try to find some answers to some of these deeper health concerns and issues that I've had going on for a while now. But I think too, like that was me. You know, I was really trying to put this blanket of like honoring my body over an issue of avoidance. Yeah. And so whether it was because like, oh, I don't have time, you know, oh, I don't this, you know, I can make all the jokes that I want, when really deep down it was like this fear that would overtake me and want to avoid like, oh, you'll be fine. Oh, you can do research yourself. Oh, you can like self-diagnose this, or you can figure it out, or whatever it is. Or you can talk to, you know, A, B, C, and D. And so, there's definitely a difference. And it's as I take baby steps towards undoing that. I mean, I literally started the appointment with, so this is a huge step for me that I'm here.
Well, you had moral support on the drive. So
I know. Girlfriend here, she rode with me. So I was very thankful for that. Dropped her off at a Starbucks and went to the doctor. Yay! But yeah, no, I mean, I think that because we had so many like formative years and with this mindset of if we're not productive, we're lazy. If we're not doing something, we are, you know, lacking in some way. Yeah. The hustle culture, all of this, like there's just like a whole list of things that just would come in and swoop in and tell us like, hey, you're not good enough or you're not doing this the right way. And I think it's really beautiful when you can start exercising the muscle of your intuition. I mean, like, okay, I'm going to honor myself. I'm going to honor my time. I'm going to honor my body. And even when I'm avoiding something, I know that I'm going to get there. Yeah. You know, trusting ourselves. Like, I know that I'm going to get there and I'm going to have to do it in my own way.
It might be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get uncomfortable. And I think we have to also like honor the discomfort and know when it's like discomfort because it's not meant for us. But then also, again, be able to discern when it's uncomfortable because it's just not something that we have done before or felt before or allowed ourselves to like explore. Yeah. So there's a difference there with that as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, self-awareness, you know, as we talk, I don't want it to be confusing. Really, the key of everything is self-awareness. And that you can simply start by just taking a few moments in the morning to breathe.
Yeah.
Just some deep breathing. Because, yeah, it truly, there is, like, life, it doesn't matter how long you've been on your healing journey, it's super freaking confusing.
Yeah.
Like, am I avoiding? Am I not avoiding? Am I, like, have I healed from this? Have I not? I mean, there's just so much, and the only thing you can come back to every time that is going to give you perspective is the breath. Yeah. I mean, it's just that coming back to just breathing, and that's where you find self-awareness. Yeah. So I just want to mention, like, if we sound confusing.
Oh, yeah, like contradicting ourselves. Like, do this,
because everything is contradicting.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
And it's so unique to each person. Like, that's the thing, too. Your self-awareness, where you are, what you need, what you're doing, whatever, like, how you feel, that is yours. Like, that is yours to own. And, yeah, just, like, throwing out, like, if we feel like we're talking in circles, it is Mercury retrograde. So my verbiage is not flowing in the way that I feel like it normally does. I'm just going, yeah, I'm here for the ride. I think this is great. I'm going to do a lot of rest and reflection and see what's going on. But there's still words coming out of my mouth. So that's something.
Yeah, and I'm, like, supposed to be in my flow, but I think I'm just worried about, like, blowing away. It's just a day. But this is me jumping around, but I just had this funny, like, story that I would tell. And just talking about, like, that hustle culture and when, like, growing up, just this idea that's ingrained in us is if we're not doing something, we're lazy. And I love my parents and I love my dad. He's probably not going to listen to this. So when I was little, I remember when Dad would pull in the driveway, me, my brothers, sometimes even my mom, it was like, everybody looks like you're doing something. Get off the couch! And you know that too. Like, like, do not be laying down when Dad gets home on this lunch break. Do not be sitting down when he gets home from work. It was just like, and he probably, I don't know. I don't ever remember him really reacting to that. It was just this idea.
Yeah.
From, you know, generationally passed down where it was like, if we don't look busy, we're being lazy.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and that just, that idea kind of did carry through for me. It was like, man, I'm lazy. Like, if I, like, would have, like, a day where I was tired or just felt like I needed to lay on the couch, especially when I was struggling with depression, on top of that, I would just feel lazy because I wasn't doing anything. And so yeah.
That, like, well, again, like, the shame that comes with that or the guilt that comes with that, or, you know, when you're like, oh my gosh, like, I need to make sure that my house is clean all the time, or I need to make sure that I never have dirty dishes in the sink. Like, we pan the camera over there because it's full. Let me tell you, it's full. There's probably ants in it, and it's only a day old.
Well, yeah, but you and I both don't have dishwashers, so do not judge.
Yeah, and again, it's just like, that used to absolutely, when I was in my 20s, when I was trying so hard to live in that hustle mentality, that was crippling to me. Yeah. Every night I wanted to pick up all the toys, you know, from Macy playing. It was like, her toys have to be picked up, and, you know, and I have to have the dishes done, and I need to look a certain way when I go out into public or whatever. And now it's just like, again, like, so different. Yeah. It's so different, the space that we allow ourselves. And it's hilarious that you brought up your dad, because I felt similar things with my dad, but also, like, the days that your dad would literally yell up the stairs at us.
We were still sleeping.
We would still be asleep at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon as teenagers. We knew he would never come up the stairs.
Yeah,
though.
see, that's the thing. Dad was not coming up those stairs.
He wasn't coming up those stairs.
I watched him make that trip once. I was like, and it wasn't for me.
But yeah, like we'd hear that, girls, are you still in bed? And we just like tuck under the covers. No, we're cleaning in her room and the bathroom and the hallway.
And it worked.
It worked. He never came upstairs because, I mean, then we would go downstairs and like bake him cookies and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was never that upset.
I just always, because I was joking about that with my oldest brother the other day because I've noticed. So my dad, I mean, like my dad does a lot, and he will pick up Emily from gymnastics. Her gymnastics practice gets over at 9 p.m. and we live 35 minutes away. So my dad sometimes will pick her up for me because Rudy and I are doing other running around. But when he gets back to drop her off, you know, we're at home and it's 10 o'clock. And every time Dad pulls in the driveway, Rudy instantly gets off the couch. And like starts just kind of like meandering around. And I'm like laying in my pajamas. Like, I'm not getting up. It's just so funny.
I have grown past this.
So I was telling my brother that the other day, that's how Rudy reacts, and we were just like laughing because he remembers just, Dad, tell him look busy.
Everybody look busy. I know, I always joke with my dad all the time. I'm like, I just work smarter, not harder. Like, come on.
But that's true. It is true.
There's something to it.
There is.
But yeah, it is. It's just funny because it is. It's like generational. Like there's definitely differences because of the fact that, like, I think for us, our dads had to work.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They were from big families, and like the minute, like they're like 7 years old learning how to drive.
They're not working 8 hours a day.
They had,
working, you know,
all
10,
day.
12, it's just a different time and adjusting.
So yeah, it's a very different world now. And I think that as generations pass and come through, we can learn things. Like, we can learn things from each chapter. Like, we can learn a lot from that chapter of our lives that revolved around the hustle culture.
Yeah.
We can learn a lot from that. Because you can learn a lot from the things that don't work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can learn a lot from the things that don't fit or don't work. And then as you get that perspective on it, you're like, okay, this is why. Yeah. And so how can I shapeshift this to do it differently?
Yeah, to make it work for me.
And so I think collectively and generationally, we have to be willing to like honor each generation's like unique gift of what they can offer. And so, and not try to like force each one to be like the one before. We have to be willing to shift. We have to be willing to shift a little bit with the world and shift a little bit with the way that things, you know, change, but also exercise our intuition and our self-awareness so that we know when we're living in it authentically.
Yeah. I'm trying to process everything you just said. I feel like that was like a little genius. I saw like a little moment. Crown above your head.
I'm onto something, people.
Yeah, because generationally, we tend to try to force what we learned, what we did. Yeah. I walked to school, you know, like the old
kids
these days. But truly, each generation, each children, like they're born in the time that they're supposed to for a reason, because their gifts are they're there for a reason. And so, yeah, I think honoring, learning from previous generations, and not like getting upset when they put their opinion in. Like, you know, my dad actually was saying at work, he's like, now I'm the guy who says, well, we used to do it this way. And he's like, I don't know that I like to be that. But you can learn something in that.
Yeah.
And honoring, you know, it should go both ways.
Yeah. I think that's definitely like a huge shift, is like being able to respect what has come before us, but then also like still honor like what is here now.
Yeah.
And as we look back on those things, not taking it so personally when we something doesn't align with us in the way that it aligns with another person. You know, again, coming back to the hustle culture, that worked for some people. Like, that really worked. It worked for some people. I mean, I know people who made a shit ton of money off of me buying into all of their stuff, their books or their podcasts or their whatever. Like, the money that I spent, you know, investing in these things that these people promoted that really worked and thrived for them in their life.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as what they portrayed, but, you know, because, like, there's always a shadow to everything, but that it really worked for them in that season of their life. But I was not in that season, and I was really trying to push myself to be something that I wasn't in that moment, in that time, in that space, or how I thought I should be showing up, and I really couldn't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's really important to be able to honor that what works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah.
And we don't have to make it about them, or, like, make it about, like, oh, like, they're just full of a bunch of crap, you know, or whatever it is. No, they're not. They have a lot of really good messages to deliver. It just doesn't align exactly with what I'm trying to create in life, or in this moment, or in this time.
And not everybody has to agree.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Whoa! Light bulb moment. But yeah, you don't have to agree, and you don't have to just, like, rip each other to shreds because of it. And
agree to disagree.
There's not, like, life is not one size fits all.
No.
Well, what works for you today might not work for me for months from now. Yeah. It might not work for me ever.
It might not work for me tomorrow.
Yeah, and it might not work for you tomorrow. So it's, like, all about, again, people being able to come back to that place of self-awareness and honor who they are, where they are, and what they need in that moment. And be very aware about the fact that that is subject to change.
Yeah.
On a regular basis.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Change is one thing that most people don't like, but it's one of the, it is, I've said this before in my perspective, change is the act of living.
Yeah.
Every single day, there is change.
Yeah.
There is change in the weather, even when we don't want there to be. There is change in the way that we feel. There is change in our relationships, in life around us, in the collective. Always.
Yeah.
Everything is always changing. And so
when we struggle to not embrace change, that can make life really difficult, because it's in everything, and change is growth. And, you know, you don't always have to, I guess, agree with it or like it, but opening up to that idea that change is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, that goes back to, like, generationally and collectively. It's like, instead of pointing the fingers and blaming, you know, blaming something else for something that makes you uncomfortable, it's like, okay, what can I learn from this? And can I actually learn anything from this? I don't have to, but I could, instead of just leading into that with, you know, my ego in the forefront.
Yeah.
Just opening that perspective, opening our minds and opening our hearts so that we can connect with ourselves and connect with each other.
Well, I don't think that there is a better question that you can ask yourself than, what can I learn from this? What message am I supposed to learn, take away from this? What lesson is here for me? I don't think there's a better self-reflection question you can ask yourself than that one. Because there's always, and coming from that perspective makes change or uncomfortable situations not seem so, I guess, tense or heavy. It's like, no, what can I learn from this? There's a lesson. So I love that.
And I mean, honestly, coming full circle, it's like, okay, like, what can I learn in this moment from what my body is trying to tell me, from where I'm at, whether that is chaos, whether that is rest, whether that is reflection, like whatever space that we're in right now, it's like being able to look at it and ask that question and be willing to give ourselves grace no matter what the answer is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, grace and compassion for yourself. We give it to other people, but we always struggle to give it to ourselves. Yeah. So I love that.
I do too.
It's wonderful.
So here is to honoring where we are in this moment and honoring where you are in this moment, wherever that is, if you're in a busy season, if you're in a season of rest, if you're in the Midwest and in a season of gross, gray,
we're with you.
Cold, rainy weather.
It's gonna be okay.
We will survive. And next week it'll probably be 102 degrees and we'll all be bitching about the heat.
I definitely will. I need like 60s all the time.
But yeah, so yeah, we are with you and we support you and we send you so much love. And yeah, we're just so grateful to have you join us on these chats.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here, supporting us. Let us know, again, if there's anything you want us to talk about or you just need to get something off your chest. I feel like we're okay people to talk to.
Yeah.
It works for us. So if you need somebody, don't forget, if you're enjoying this, like, subscribe, comment, follow Paige at Our Healing Spaces, me at A Strong Soul Wellness, Facebook, Instagram, all the things.